Hey, welcome back to No Hype Beer Reviews. Unless it's your first time, then welcome. Please consider subscribing. If you do, hit the notification bell, get all the updates. Released every day's video. It's my first proper Thursday's Thirsty Thoughts. I last week posted just like, what is it? It's a new thing I want to try. I love the idea. I know Matt from Massive Beer Reviews said, like, do these live. One of the reasons I want to do this is I've had a hard time doing a lot of live streams lately, and I feel like I'm not interacting with people enough. So I'm hoping that if I pre-record these, have a topic, people can then talk about it in the comments and do it that way. That being said, I do want to do as many of these live as I can. So I'm trying to do best of both worlds, okay? Got a lot of awesome suggestions of topics. People commented on that video. People sent me private messages. Also, I had some of my own ideas. So I thought because he had the most ideas, I would start with one of his. And this is from Tyrannosaurus 69, T-Rex 69, because he and I are close and I can shorten his name from Tyrannosaurus to T-Rex. But in this one, I wasn't going to start with this. I was just going to start with a lighter topic. Not that this is a heavy topic. I spun it a little bit to like all things fruited sours, like heavily fruited smoothies, slushy, all that kind of stuff. Not just like old school wild ale with some fruit added or whatever, but like that newer school cans exploding stuff, right? And it never fails. If I post a video where I'm drinking one of those kinds of beers, people want to talk about, like, is it beer? Is it not beer? Is it just a gimmick? Is it disgusting? Is it delicious? Is like whatever, like, you know, just drink a daiquiri, whatever kind of conversation. And that's cool and interesting, and like that's fun, and I like that. I mean, I really at the end of every video, I encourage people to leave comments. This whole purpose of this series is for people to comment and, you know, have conversations going. So I don't like, you know, poo-poo conversations and comments. But I'm like, okay, yeah, like this just seems like a good topic to talk about. So he specifically was talking about like who's at fault if the cans explode? I mean, that, I don't know, like that's interesting. I can see some gray area, and this is definitely something I would love to hear people weigh in on. You know, when it leaves the brewery, it's probably on the person who bought it. And then if they're shipping, I mean, if you're getting like into that secondary market, or you're, you know, doing a beer trade or whatever, you know, it does seem to fall on the person who ships it, right? Who acquired the beer, and now they're shipping it to you. If something happens, it's on you, the shipper. You know, I've been very fortunate with beer trades myself. There was one years ago that I sent, and I think something got punctured. It wasn't even like I packaged it poorly. I think just like something punctured the side of it and then pierced the can. It was luckily Nugget Nectar from Trogs. I could easily get a lot more of it, so I just got more of it and sent it. You know, like I ate the cost. There was a guy I was trying to get all the variants of Bourbon County I couldn't get locally, and it broke on the way. And he's like, "Yeah, I'll get them." He had more, and he sent them. You know, and it sucked for him, obviously. So yeah, I do think that's how it goes. That being said, I forget which company. I get emails from different, you know, beer companies, not breweries necessarily, but like, I think Halftime's one of them. Tap Room, I think, is another one where you can like order beers and they'll send them to you. And I saw that they got some of those 450 North slushies and some of the Mortalis. Oh crap, what's Mortalis? Hydras. And, you know, they made a point saying, like, if they explode on the way and the package doesn't get to you, we're not refunding your money. We're not sending. I forget which company said this in the email. If I was a better beer tuber, I would have made a point to look that up for this. And I thought that was super interesting. Like, you know, and a lot of, you know, most businesses are going to try to do right by the customer, and they were just flat out like, yeah, if this happens, we're not going to deal with it. We're not going to take care of it. And I thought that was super interesting. So I hope I addressed some of my thoughts. And again, I'm super curious. The whole point is not just to me to, you know, be a professor, you know, giving you my knowledge, but to have conversations. So what do you think? Who's to blame? Who's at fault if the can explodes? You know, I was lucky enough to go to Treehouse in Sandwich, Massachusetts, and I noticed on their cases it said, like, here's the temperature we have stored it at. Here's the temperature we would like you to store it at. To keep it as fresh as possible. We have basically eliminated oxygen from it, and you know, I think breweries would be smart to really, you know, and I think a lot of them do, but to really hammer, these things can be re-fermented if they're not, if there's not a process of pasteurization. In terms of, is it beer, is it gimmicky, is it whatever? I mean, if you brew a sour ale, that's beer. I don't care what you add to it at that point. Like, you can add all the puree, and a lot of, times when they add fruit, you strain out the pulpiness if it has the real fruit still in the tank. With this, you try to, sludge it all up and get it all mixed around. So yeah, you're incorporating the thickness that normally would be, filtered out. Does it change it into not being beer anymore just because you kept it, or you added more of it, or made a point to add fruits that would have a lot of that pectin, left over in the can? So that's still, to me, it's beer. It is for sure beer. It is a newer version of what beer can be, certainly. It is not traditional or classic by any stretch of imagination, but it definitely is beer. You brewed a beer. I mean, a lot of beers have adjuncts in it, whether it's, rice, if you're making a rice lager, even like something that seems so pure as that. I guess you could argue that that's, just a different brewing process. But anyway, thoughts on that? Comment section below. Is it gimmicky? That maybe is more interesting to me. I think there are probably places that have done it as a gimmick, places that have done it and continued it as a gimmick. I think there are people or breweries that are like, will laugh this gimmick all the way to the bank. But like, there's a demand for it. People love them, clearly. And it's funny that the new Fast and Furious movie came out. I was thinking about it when I was walking my dog today, like what to bring up in this video. The Fast and Furious movies are not for me. But people love them. They keep making them. Who am I to say that that's bad or garbage or it's not a movie or something? Like, yeah, it's clearly a movie. It's just not a movie I'm into. It's not a style that I'm into. And I think that's a good analogy for this. You may not like this as a beer or as a beer style, but it's still a beer. It's still a movie. It's just not for you. Is it gimmicky? Maybe at first, and then it caught on. I don't know. What is a gimmick when there's this big of a demand for it? I don't know. I just think it's interesting. I love them. If you watch my channel a lot, there's definitely things I gravitate towards, IPAs and stouts, which since day one has been in my description for my channel. Is I really like IPAs and big stouts, especially if they're bourbon barrel aged. But I do like the variety, and I do try to, change it up. And I love throwing those into the rotation, and that'd be my thing. And some people, it's just so funny to me. And I like the conversation. I'm not trying to, sway anyone from commenting or watching my videos. But, when some people are like so critical of it, it's just like, I don't know. I don't like the Fast and Furious movies, so I don't watch them. Like, I watched the first one, wasn't a fan, stop watching them. I don't encourage other people to not watch them. I don't crap on people who like watching them. If I had a superpower, it'd probably be my ability to just move on with my life. They still exist. It's not harming anyone. I'm glad those movies bring people happiness. I would hope people could feel the same way about beer styles. Like, who cares? Like, you don't like it, great, But other people clearly like them, and what's wrong with that? So, obviously I'll be tooling around with this format. This is kind of my initial thought was how this would go. But again, I loved the idea of doing some of these live, or as many as I can live, get the interactiveness in the moment versus in the comment section. But just life is going to have it be like this some of the time for sure as well. But your thoughts on how this went. I would love to hear your thoughts specifically about this video and this format. And then obviously also the topic of these heavily fruited sour beers and if they're beer, gimmicky, etc. Whose fault is it if they explode? Anything, everything. Comment section below. Let's get a conversation going. Once you're done doing that, make sure you check me out on Instagram and Untapped. It's No Hype Beer Reviews at both those places. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, imbibe. Cheers, everyone.